All right, Season 3, Episode 8 of Discovery. Hit it. Or execute. Or let's go. Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd, and it seems that one of the things that the captain of the Discovery was concerned about was how he was going to execute his orders. He wanted something like Captain Pike, who said hit it, or Captain Picard that says engage, even though he never met Picard, or whatever other person had a catchphrase. He was trying to find one of his own, and a funny conversation between him and Tilly goes over, and he tries a couple of them. One is hit it, which doesn't work well, and then execute, which causes some eye rolls among the bridge crew, but seems like one that he may actually stick with. There are other things that were happening in this episode, which is called The Sanctuary, where we get a chance to see Book's planet for the first time. It's been alluded to in past episodes, and it is a place that looks like New England in the fall. It's not a bad-looking place, but, of course, it has a problem with locusts, or some kind of space locusts. And the special effects on that are convincing enough. I mean, you almost think that you'd want to collect them rather than run them away. But if they're bad on crops, it doesn't matter what they look like, I suppose. And that is one of the concerns of this planet, of which has had some dealings with the Emerald Chain. And for the first time, we get a chance to meet Saru, who is the head of the Emerald Chain. That is the main plot of this, where the Admiral this time orders Discovery in a observational and advisory role to take Discovery to Book's planet, and that, of course, he can't tell Book very much what to do once he gets there. And what we do is we meet Book's brother, or at least brother empath. And an interesting way of solving the problem came about, and was very satisfying by the end of the episode. The secondary episode is that we're still watching what's happening to Philippa Georgiou. She is examined now in the newly upgraded sick bay, and the effect that they use in order to examine her is something that they had an idea for in the first Star Trek movie. They couldn't do it in the original series because their budget for special effects was not sufficient, and the fact of the matter is special effects in the mid-60s weren't all that great to begin with. They had every special effects house in town working on Star Trek, by the by. But by the first movie, they were talking about actually having the transporter effect, where first you see the bones, and then you see the internal organs, and then you see the skin, and then you see the makeup. And this is something that they decided, even when Star Trek The Motion Picture came out, was a little beyond their ability to do special effects for. At least it would take too long, and while they had all the money they needed for that movie, they didn't have all the time in the world. So this is an interesting effect that can be done now. I would say more appropriately used in sickbay than it would be in a transporter effect. So anyway, we find out that what the matter with Georgiou is that she is kind of phased out of her own dimension, and it's starting to play on her. We don't know of anybody from the Dark Universe that has stayed for any long period of time in the normal universe, except, of course, for Discovery's first captain, which they kind of want us to forget about, I think. Disquieting dreams that are coming to Georgiou have continued, and this phasing apparently is the problem. It will, according to the Starfleet guy with the glasses will be a problem that might eventually kill her because of the fact that her body is not adapting to our universe and is trying to reconfigure it to the old. I think that this is going to be a way that they're going to be able to separate Philippa from Discovery in allowing her to have her own show later on in the series. So there may be some situation to where she either has to go back to the 23rd century or she has to go into the mirror universe in order to be able to survive. We'll find out what happens there. Nevertheless, there were some good lines here. We have, of course, after an exchange with Philippa, they say to her, "Your mother must be proud," in which she answers, and then they all say pretty much in unison, "I killed her." I thought that was a funny line. Also, a line from Michael Burnham, who's talking about Linus, who is having a shedding problem, saying to Book's nephew, his name is Linus. You can peel off part of his face if you want. I thought that was a very funny line there, and coming from an unusual person to tell a joke. We find out more about the music. And we had suspected this early on, that the music itself had something to do with the burn, and in fact it did. A pulsar that was in a nebula where the burn started, they located the position, caused vibrations that were in the radio frequency range that approximated music, and it apparently affected enough people where it became a fairly common lullaby through that section of space. So quite interesting there. They'll certainly be going further into that. Also, we find out a little bit more about Tal. Adira is working in engineering and referred to as she, and for the first time objects to that pronoun. Now, there's some backstory to this. I haven't talked about this because really they haven't brought it into the story before this. Blue Del Barrio, who is the actor who plays Adira Tal, is non-binary. And what's interesting is that they became non-binary during the time that they were cast for this part. So it's interesting that the actor is going through kind of the same transition as the character, perhaps a little phased in time a little bit, but we find now that Adira wants to be referred to as they and them rather than she and her. And this is first expressed to Stamets, who startles for a moment and then says, "Okay, so this is where we're going to be from here." Also, there is some concern about what happened to Gray. Gray has not come back in a personal level like we've seen before. So this is something of concern and something, no doubt, that will be followed up on. So an interesting episode here. We have some pipe being laid. We learn more about Book. We learn more about Adira, and we learn a little bit more about what's happening with Georgiou. So I have a feeling that the last few episodes are going to get very interesting. So I hope you'll be here with me to talk about that when it comes about. Meantime, why not go and into the comments. Let me know what you think about this. I'd like to, I'm always enjoy reading your insights about this. And also, if you have not yet subscribed to this channel, why not do that right now? It'll certainly help us out, and it will allow you to know when the next video comes your way. If you click the bell, that even guarantees it a little bit more. And if you're on a cell phone, there is a thing where you can make sure that notices come to you, and that'll help out as well. So, what am I leaving out? Oh, there was a little Easter egg in the junkyard planet that they go back to, where we see a comm badge that is in the Picard era. Picard never wore this particular badge, but it was what Starfleet was wearing at the time of Star Trek Picard. So I thought that was kind of interesting there. All right, so until next time, Don't go far.